Welcome back to the TransPositions News Magazine. This week, I'm Carly Chardonnay Webb. It's good to be back. I know I've been away for a couple weeks. Had to take care of a few things like getting a new apartment, but we're going to be moving into some new digs at Shar Sports One, and I'm pleased to announce that we're going to be building the frilliest, fanciest, most feminine sports control ever built by a streaming outlet or on television. The new Shar Sports One Sports Control coming in October. But in the meantime, it's good to be back because I'm kind of in a sour mood with what's been going on as of late. Would you like to know more? Bree, kick it.
After the 400 meters this week, we'll compete in the 200. Now, this is special for her because it's the event of her hero. Italian icon, former world record holder and 1980 Olympic champion at 200 meters, Pietro Manea. Now, first off, I want to talk about all the people who've been riding down on her. And it's the usual suspects, J.K. Rowling, that old crone, and Sharon Davies. Sharon, you need therapy. I'm just going to call it out like that. We're just going to call people out. Sharon Davies, you need therapy. It's been 44 years now. You have a problem with Petra Snyder? Last I heard, she lives in Germany. Get on the Eurostar, take the train out there, and have a match race over the medal. Or argue it over tea, over whatever. One more time. Transgender people had nothing to do with DDR State Research Plan 14.25. Leave us out of it. We had nothing to do with it. That doping thing, that was cis folks. You know what? That's why I believe cisgender folks. We may need to keep y'all out of sport because y'all the only people finding the way, figuring out how to cheat. Seriously. And then there's the Tory graph. And Oliver Brown, yes, I'm talking to you. It's bad enough, the nonsense that you're all writing about Valentina Petrillo. If it's not about her, first off, not looking disabled. Okay, just a note to all the people there. Not only are you ignorant when you say that, you're ableist when you say that. And while you're at it, if all you're frustrated, if only thing you're fixated on is Valentina Petrillo, you're missing one hell of a Paralympic Games, let me tell you. Because the Paralympics have been awesome this year. They've been awesome. And believe me, if that's all you're looking at, you're missing it. You're missing it for real. But all these here first, if it's not about her, she doesn't look disabled, never mind, she's had a degenerative eye condition diagnosed at age 14, has been legally blind since she was 14. Yeah. And then there's this stuff about her age. I mean, she's older than all these other people. Amara Durand of Cuba, also known as probably the winningest Paralympic sprinter among visually impaired sprinters ever. Oh, by the way, won her 9th gold medal. Her 9th career gold medal at 400 meters. And is poised to sweep the 2 and the 1 because she's just that good. And has the world record in all 3. And even at age 32, has no signs of slowing down. You will see her again at Los Angeles and probably be just as dominant. And perhaps at Brisbane, being just as dominant. But y'all missed that. Never mind that Dame Sarah Story just won another gold medal. She's 46 and has no signs of slowing down. Or Oksana Chitsovtina won her national gymnastics championship at age 48 and could have been at Paris for the Olympics if it wasn't for an injury. Or Tom Brady at age 43, 44, still throwing balls in between windows that only a dart can fit through and throwing touchdowns. But yeah, we're going to jump on that. Why don't you folks, all you people, just say what you mean. You are uncomfortable with transgender people being in any space, let alone a sporting space. Just stop it. I mean, for real. Stop it. Say it with your chest. Say what you mean. I have more respect for you that way. If Valentina does well on Friday, gets through the first round, gets into the semifinals, does well, gets to the final, maybe even medals, and perhaps gets that medal, gets on that podium, It's going to be an interesting test, because remember, a few weeks ago, a lot of people got hot under the collar because a cisgender woman was referred to as trans and treated as such. And a lot of y'all didn't like that, and rightfully so. I believe me, seeing people step out and say, no, this wasn't cool was a good thing, but now you just might get the litmus test. And I'm wondering how that'll go down. I'd like to say I'm hopeful that it will go down the same way, but sorry, I know better. Because after all, look at what we've seen this year. We've seen over 500 pieces of legislation go through state legislatures in this country. A week after all the things about Imani Khalif and Lin Yu-Ting went down, a judge affirmed that Ohio has the right to keep trans kids out of school sports and take away their health care. Now, why did I hear crickets? Why did I hear crickets about HB 68? Where was that outcry about this? But then again, I've heard crickets on the 25 other bills too, so I didn't think number 26 would make a difference. After all, now 26 states have this type of legislation that discriminates against transgender students at their schools on the books now. And you can't say you didn't know about Ohio. I mean, I've been talking about it. It's been on the news. Two people I care about, Dara and Shauna Atkinson, have been actively fighting this thing. Another one, a person who I hold in high esteem, Julie Allday, testified. All three of them testified about this.
I'm here testifying as a parent, as a resident of Ohio, as a transgender parent, and as a community member who has been in contact in recent weeks with numerous families that would be directly impacted by this bill were it to pass.
This kind of legislation sends a regressive message that contradicts the principles of equality and inclusivity that Ohio should strive to embody.
The past 12 months has been the best sports experience of my life. Being able to just be myself and for my teammates to see me for who I am has blown everything I knew about being part of a team out of the water. To deny this experience to any young woman, even one who happens to be trans, is nothing other than cruel. People love to tell athletes to shut up and play ball. Please, let me shut up and play ball.
Crickets. Yeah, I'll admit, I'm on a rant at this moment. But then again, what do I expect? The same people that are going after Valentina Petrillo and now going after Sutton United Football Club, I'm getting that for a minute. These are the same people that were okay with a person who is running for governor of an American state. Patrick Morrisey of West Virginia. Yes, I know about you. This is what he said about a 13-year-old transgender girl who wants to play a sport with her friends. Roll the clip.
You have people, this came up in Bridgeport recently, that someone is doing a shot put. I praised the little girls who walked off and didn't compete because they have to face a male. You don't want little girls to be facing hulking males in the locker rooms.
That was brought to you by the Republicans.
Transphobia for a stronger America.
And if it wasn't that, it was what happened to Aiden Gallagher at the Oregon State High School Track and Field Championships. Oh, roll that clip.
Aiden Gallagher.
And the same happened to Veronica Garcia the next week at the State High School Championships in Washington State. Engineered by a bunch of adults who have nothing better to do. There is some good news to talk about. I was looking at the NCAA regulations for the new year, expecting that they were going into phase 3 of their trans inclusion policy, which would have meant that 5 sports would have been off limits for transgender women competing as who they are as women. There's some good news. They're staying at phase 2. They have the regulations out and the championship regulations out for the entire academic year out now. Now, including outdoor and indoor track, which is sticking to the IOC's previous guidelines, some amended guidelines. good news is that Sadie Schreiner from Rochester Institute of Technology up in New York, who was third place at 200 meters in NCAA Division III last year, will get another opportunity in her junior year to perhaps compete for that national championship. This is good news. I like seeing this. Or at least it's hopeful good news. Because remember, there's still that petty lawsuit that Riley Gaines and her married band of transphobes are putting up there. That hasn't had a court date yet. But you know they're already pressuring it. Now I hear that they're trying to pass something in Georgia. It's ridiculous. You know it, and I know it. But the NCAA, even though they're dealing with a lot bigger fish to fry, it seems like, hey, there's the college realignment and NIL and what that's going to mean. And what will college sports as a whole look like in the years ahead? But this, at least, is a cause for some cautious optimism as long as they don't cave in to the pressure that they're going to get. Because they're going to get pressure. Pressure very similar to some pressure that somebody I care about is going through right now. Lucy Clark, first transgender person to be an official in the Football Association over in England, now managing Sutton United. They're a team in the fifth division team in women's football over in the UK. See, a couple weeks ago, they ran into a little bit of a problem. They were out of goalkeepers. I believe they had one who was injured and another one who was brought in on loan. And the team that loaned her said, no, we need her back. So now, and this is something Lucy talked about this on her Twitter. They've been trying to find a goalkeeper for months, and then finally she reached out to somebody who's played for her before. Blair Hamilton. Yes, that Blair Hamilton. You know, Blair was joining us too. When Blair's not stopping shots, she's a scientific researcher. She researches in sports medicine, got her PhD in sports medicine, recently unveiled some grand research, partially funded by the IOC, on what is the real when we're talking about trans women and cis women in sport and what the relative advantages or disadvantages are. Very groundbreaking research. I'll have the link to it in the comment section. And also, this is just a person who loves to play in the net. And she's pretty good. She's known as the washing machine. She's played in several leagues over the last few years. And she has been wonderful and brilliant and awesome and good and so on. But now, here's the crux of it. Because she got signed, someone lost their mind. And apparently, they had to cancel a match last weekend. And it was later found out they canceled the match because somebody got hot in the collar about Blair Hamilton donning a goalie kit for Sutton United because she is a transgender woman. Now, I think you kind of know where this is going at this point. But the worst thing is, while everybody else is trying to figure out what exactly is happening and what's going on, people like the Tory Graph and Oliver Brown and the Daily Fail, or as Pippa York calls them, the Daily Heil, and GB News. Oh, God. Does anybody still watch that channel? I'm just wondering. These people already have their own story already written, and they're coming out about how Sutton United players didn't want Blair on the team, and they're talking about how Lucy Clark says she wanted to build an all-trans team at Sutton United. Here's Carla. Now here's helpful journalism hint from Carly. Oliver Brown extrapolated a story about Truck United. Now, you know I'm a big fan of Truck United. Truck United was a team built in part by Clark, who's one of the co-founders of Trans Radio UK, thus the name Truck United. Truck United Football Club was built to be a place where trans people can play. They built an all-trans team. You've probably heard about some of the matches they've done. They play in charity leagues and in rec leagues up and down the United Kingdom. They're not anywhere near the proper football pyramid, the professional football pyramid in the UK. At no time has Lucy Clark talked about bringing an all-trans team to Sutton United. Not even close. But Oliver Brown, because most people don't know about any of this, Oliver Brown has fertile ground to spread any ignorance that he wants. And I have to admit, the little Faragite does spread any ignorance he wants. The Tory Graph, the Daily Mail, they do all this. And here's the real sad thing. A lot of you eat it up like a Dove bar. You do. And it's sad. But anyway, people believe this. So right now, a team has to explain to fans why a match isn't taken. And now a lot of people are saying all sorts of nonsense on social media, and some of those on traditional media, and actually who are actual journalists are also picking up and regurgitating these stories, when this has nothing to do with fairness for anybody. As I say, well, you have to keep it fair. No, it's not about fairness. It's about discomfort. You are uncomfortable about Blair Hamilton being in that net. Never mind that Blair Hamilton has played in a number of leagues at the university level and in the football pyramid for years. This isn't somebody new. This is somebody people have known. And for the most part, she's played with limited controversy. And she certainly hasn't gotten controversy among the teams she's played for, and she told us about this. Roll the clip.
I don't want to be on a team where someone has a problem with me. But again, all the teammates. So you're looking at Aberdeen University Women. You're looking at Stonehaven Women. You're looking at Grampian Ladies. You're looking at Montpellier Villa. You're looking at Hastings United. You're looking at Saltine. There you go. I'm looking at all these teams, and yet every one of them has been so. The thing is, like, I'm not looking to expecting to be treated any differently. I'm not expecting to, have the red carpet rolled out in front of me or whatever it is. Like, I just want to be treated like anyone else. And literally, like, obviously, knowing behind your back, like, they've got you is important. Is massively important. There's no underselling it. And probably I am underselling it a little bit. But I think it's like, because there is times I think you question, you're like, oh, well, does all this sort of, online abuse and all this, this stuff in the background make you want to stop? But it doesn't make me want to stop because, you've got them behind you.
To me, what this whole issue boils down to is one thing. A lot of cisgender discomfort. And we need to talk about that. No one wants to talk about that, but believe me, this is my show, so we're going to talk about it. You're uncomfortable with Blair Hamilton being in that net. And yeah, I know y'all have to, and that's another thing, really, the look shaming, it's got to stop. It's got to stop. And that's another place where that look shaming also hits cisgender people. Remember this from the Olympics?
I'm going to be very real here for a second. As you can probably tell, I've been crying a little bit. I always get these comments, but like recently it kind of ramped up. I get comments being called a man and being called masculine and asking if I'm on steroids. There will always be negative people out there, and they put women in a box, and they think of women should be fragile and petite and quiet and meek, but that's not the case. Women can be strong, and they can have broad shoulders, and they can take up space, and they can be big. I think I'm getting emotional because I feel very passionate about this. Don't let anybody try to define or dictate how you feel about yourself.
The look shaming has got to stop. Especially considering that the person y'all tried to look shame in that clip, Leona Maher, is on the cover of the SI swimsuit edition. And it's well-deserved. Hashtag just saying. If somebody doesn't look a certain way or doesn't fit into that traditional mold, whatever that traditional mold, white Western, yeah, I said it, you'll reject it, especially for trans women. You're uncomfortable if Cece Telfer runs down the track. Oh, by the way, Cece talked about that, about how far that discomfort would go. Roll the clip. When you went to indoor and outdoor nationals in 2019, and they had to sit you down and say, this is the way it's got to work to keep you safe.
Yep.
And even now you got to deal with that.
For my indoor national championship, my first one, I was on the line and they had to stop the race because a parent said something out in the audience before the gun went off, and I was right next to the stand. That had no railing, that had no boundaries or anything. That parents could have done they had to stop the race and tell the girls to stand up, and then they had to adjust. They had to They had to address that parent in front of us and then tell us to get back into the starting blocks and then go run the race or go execute the race. You kidding me? Are you kidding me? My life was threatened 5 seconds ago and you want me to finish this race? Of course I'm not going to win. Of course I'm going to, what? I still came 5th place though. Yeah, okay. Let me see any other cis heterosexual athlete. Ask them, what are they thinking about on race day? If they're thinking about their lives being taken, if they're thinking about their safety, if they're thinking about their basic human rights being violated, please ask them what they're thinking about. Ask Tina McLaughlin what she is thinking about on her race day. Please let me know. Thank you. Say it louder for the people in the back. That's all I'm saying. Like, you're banning me for your preconceived predisposition and ideas of what your fears are, not who I am. I am living this life. I didn't buy this life. Do not ask Caitlyn Jenner, Kristen Jenner, or the Jenners about anything regarding transgender athletes or transgender people. We are actively living this life. We have to go through the things that we have to go through to live. We don't have money to buy it.
Was CC lying? No. You were uncomfortable about her. You're uncomfortable about Sadie Schreiner. You're uncomfortable whether it's a kid in some middle school or high school. And let's keep it a buck. You're uncomfortable about Pat Manuel too. Oh, y'all uncomfortable about him getting in that boxing ring. And some of you were probably uncomfortable about Chris Mosier once you found out the tea. You were uncomfortable about him. You would be uncomfortable if Nez Murby got to the Paralympics this year. I wish he did, and I hope he keeps striving for it. I want to see you in LA in 28. You'd be uncomfortable if some trans boy is playing on a high school basketball or football team somewhere where, don't kid yourself, because this is not about fairness. And by the way, if you come to me with the fairness nonsense, I'm going to ask you a question. Fairness for whom? What are we talking about when we talk about fairness? Fairness for whom? The Frankie De La Creta question. And it's a good question, and they ask it very often when you talk about fairness for whom? I did a whole video on this. Fairness, you're going to step to me about fairness. Okay, whose fairness are we centering in this moment? Don't step to my dojo with this. Seriously. Is it fair for all those kids in all those states that are turning bright red and dark red on the Aaron Reed anti-trans risk map? By the way, go to her Substack if you don't believe me, because that's what the map looks like. Is that fair for those kids? Is their fairness taken into account? Is their safety taken into account? Is it fair that some kid is taking a day off school again to go to a state capitol to lip sync for their life? Is that fair? I know another thing some of y'all were uncomfortable about. September 10th, 2021. You remember that date. If you've been following me, you know that date, because that date is special, because something that got some of y'all uncomfortable happened. That was the night that Alana McLaughlin got in that cage and put in that work against Celine Provost. And again, for those who still believe to this day that fight was domination, no, you missed the fight. I challenge you, watch the fight, because it looked like it was going to be a French walkover for Celine Provost in that first round. Then in the second round, Alana stood on business, got that rear naked choke, got that win. Oh, by the way, a documentary on that entire story and her story is coming out next week. Here's the trailer.
Alana, second interview, take one, Mark.
Mixed martial arts, it's a way to sort of re-inhabit and reclaim my body. It lets me feel like I have some measure of control that I might not otherwise feel that I have.
You look for a fighter that you can really create a story about. And certainly Alana deserves an opportunity.
MMA is probably one of those sports where people are most going to be pissed off about a trans woman participating because of the violent aspect of the sport in the first place.
When people first hear transgender fighter, former military, they're like, no, we don't want that, we don't need that, we don't think that should even exist.
Putting herself out there in this very international public way to be a target of transphobic hate.
I've gotten thousands of death threats, like easily thousands of death threats.
I've never had a more challenging task than finding Alana McLaughlin an opponent. There were people that were offended. How could you even ask me this question?
Alana says she's a woman, but the truth is she was born a man, she grew up a man. All the lungs of a man, the disposal of a man. I think it's a man taking advantage of a system. I think that's sick and perverse.
You want me in there being your boogeyman, so get me a fight.
I do know that it bothers her, but I've also seen her rise above it.
We just want to live and compete, and work. That's all that any person wants. Take trans, cis, gay, straight, black, white, whatever out of the equation.
Pretty soon there'll be no women's sports. It'll just be men that couldn't hack it as pros. They'll switch to become women and they'll dominate women's sports.
People have a lot of feelings about trans athletes. It's not actually backed up by the facts of what is actually happening.
I want everyone that comes after me to not have to deal with the same fear-mongering I've had to deal with. I want a better world for the people that come after me.
Her power, her strength, wasn't the same. McLaughlin has to survive here. You can't keep punching like that.
Alana needs to keep her hands up and her head up, because if not, it's going to be a very dangerous situation for her.
The only way that trans people are going to have more freedom and more inclusion is if we step up and make that space, clear it out for ourselves, because it's definitely not going to be given to us.
I'm sure you saw a familiar face in that trailer. I got an opportunity to sit down with Mark Perez and with Alana McLaughlin this week. I'm going to do a full story and a full preview of the show of the film coming up next week on Transposition Sports. But having the opportunity to talk to Alana, here's what she said about the recent unpleasantness and what's been going down. Roll the clip. 1 month after all hell broke loose at the Olympics over this same issues. First, what was your thought on that, on what went down with the whole boxing controversy in Paris a month ago?
Oh God, yeah. I was definitely disappointed with a lot of the media coverage. The rampant speculation on, Iman, whether or not she was intersex, or, just the wild claims being made by, certain billionaire children's book authors. Things got nasty, and just at the specter of a potential trans athlete, when neither Iman nor the other boxer were even trans. And I guess there was definitely some disappointment from even the friendly folks that were defending Iman, who don't reserve that kind of energy for trans athletes as well.
Finally tonight, this week is also an anniversary for me. 30 years ago, this week, at a television station in Omaha, Nebraska, I began my career as a face on the screen. It was my first night as an on-air sportscaster, and 10 seconds before I was set to do my thing, the teleprompter died. I'm already filled with rookie nerves and I have no teleprompter, but I was smooth as glass and I launched myself to trajectories I never thought I would get to, but always dreamed of getting to. And that trajectory in some ways has brought me right here to tell these stories and to rant once in a while like I did tonight. But mainly, it's good to still be in the craft, even in these hard times, and provide sports coverage from a different perspective. I'm glad to be doing it, and I'm glad that I'm doing it for you. For Transposition Sports, I'm Carly Chardonnay Webb.
Carly, I was just typing in chat. I so admire your willingness to connect with who you were and who you are, because that's one of the hardest things I think trans folk have to reckon with. I just want to say how much I admire your willingness to do that for this audience, and uh, I hope that we, the two of us, uh, can show that we never stopped being who we were, and we'll never stop being who we are. And it just took a little bit of time for us to be who we are and show the rest of the world that we are. I really appreciate you. I really do, Carly. From the
I
bottom of
appreciate
my
you right back because I see what you've done. I haven't done anything different than what you've done because you've made that. And for me, that has come from a lot of struggle because
Yeah.
for a while, at least early in my transition, I wanted to erase everything that happened in the past. I wanted to be that nothing that happened pre-transition really mattered, but during the lockdowns in 2020 and all I had was myself and my thoughts in many ways, I realized that no, you can't just erase that because that built you. That built who you are. And I'm very proud of the fact that I wanted to be in sports journalism and I got there. I'm proud of that. I wanted to be on air and I made a bet on my I made several bets on myself to get there. And even in a limited way in the number 60 market in the country, I got there. And I'm proud of that. Very proud of that. And it's good that that has come full circle to this because everything that I've done and I've learned, be it at that television station in the Midwest in Omaha to to freelancing to working 18 years at ESPN to having to reestablish myself and freelance some more to what I'm doing now, just out there wildcatting doing my thing as a writer contributor to Outsports and this. It's really come full circle, but those times before transition gave me the foundation to be able to bring these skills now. And it's helped me it's it's helped me come to terms with the past and it's helped me also to embrace it and realize that like you said, nothing's changed. You were that person then. You just didn't get the opportunity to show that for whatever reason. Society, family, tradition, it wasn't safe. It wasn't safe for me to be who I am, but when it became safe, I struck out for it. And that's the one thing I feel that our adversaries do not understand. Our
I
adversaries
know they
try to
don't.
say like you can choose not to. The See, being trans is not a choice. You are. The only choice you have is what you do about it. And there's a lot of people decide to do nothing about it. And they live the life of quiet frustration. I lived the life of quiet frustration. And then I come to realize in 2017 that I can't do it anymore. I could not have a, I could not be one thing 1 minute and then one thing the next minute. I had to find my true north and march for that. And I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I acknowledge
Guiding stars are something, and
that's right.
sometimes you don't realize.
But
Uh,
I will
Sometimes
say
you don't
this.
realize that the guiding star can be uh, the star you wish upon
Mm,
for yourself
But I will say
and
this.
and then you find out
Yes, you
that
do.
you're
You do.
in the previous stream I was making reference to. I think that we were going on about uh, uh, how modern media has created trans people out of thin air. And I just recall myself as a small child watching Pinocchio in the theater, and the words of "When You Wish Upon a Star," and I was thinking of the way they touched me as a trans kid at the time. When your heart is in your dream, no request is too extreme. When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. And it's really difficult to have your dreams taken away when part of your dream is just to be, which is why I
Exactly.
appreciate you for just being, and for all of us here. It's not the most, for those of you who are in the audience. This is what we're trying to convey here. We're just people, and we're people who were frequently cut off at the knees from being able to be who we always knew we could be, and now here we are.
It's a good place to be. Like I said,
Better than the
I can
alternative.
tell you, I'm a lot happier here. A lot happier here, but at the same time, I can honor and acknowledge that point in my life and that person I was, because who I was then had to stay brave and stay on their feet, and very frustrated, and at times very frustrated, just trying to find where they fit. And it wasn't easy. I mean, it wasn't easy in your 20s trying to find your fit professionally and trying to find your fit socially, and just trying to find a fit, and it never quite did. But you kept trying and you kept trying and you kept at it, and then finally you realize that, okay, the reason why you're not fitting is because you're in a world of square holes, but you're a round peg.
Hmm.
And that's what it was.
Anyway,
And once I was able to figure that out, everything just kind of fell into place. And then more and more, as I grew into that and grew into myself, I realized that no, you don't have to erase that past. That past is part of you. You can bring it forward with you, and you can celebrate that. And I do celebrate that because I'm very proud of that moment when that red light came on, even with the prompter died, and I did it. Proud of that. I did it, and I did it. And that's something that no matter what can't be taken away. I mean, it's been 26 years almost since the last time I was on TV in my hometown.
hmm
But I mean, and yeah, I mean, people will forget, but I never will. I was proud of those 4 years. I was proud of that time, and just like, and I was proud of that time, and it was great times, and can't take the memories, can't take the memories away. But now I'm in a place where I get that feeling back again, working with you and Bree and Ember, and it's beautiful. And like you said, I'd like to see more people watching us. I'd like to see more people hit our Patreon up, because it's important. Because where else are you going to get these stories? I mean, you're not going to get them. The mainstream media still have the idea that this has to be a both sides thing, and and even they don't cover both sides adequately. I mean, for people that are supposed to be fair and objective, funny, The only, again, fairness for whom? Fairness for whom? When I hear people talk about, well, you got to be fair, whose fairness are we centering in that moment? Because you certainly aren't centering the fairness for trans people. If we were centering fairness for trans people, HB 68 in Ohio would never gotten passed. It would never gotten out of committee. If we were really looking at fairness for trans people. If we're looking at fairness for trans people, nobody would have said a word about Valentina Petrillo. It's amazing. A lot of people out there believe more about what J.K. Rowling says about me than what I say about me. And I'm a person who lives in this skin every day.
Likewise, I'm sure. Well,
every day.
Different skins, but we're all human.
And yeah.
We're just human beings.
Here we are.
And
I
the
look
callousness that some people are willing to engage is always amazes me. Always amazes me.
And the worst thing is the media coverage, what you were pointing out in your segment, it's downright criminal. But here's the thing, and I understand the dots are connecting, but here's my thing. You're going to have a bunch of people pointing and saying, Russia made us do it. No, Vladimir Putin, all Vladimir Putin did was give you the candy. You chose to take it out of his hand.
That's right.
I mean, that's what it comes down to.
And a lot of people were hungry for it.
The FSB did not make you a transphobe. You were a transphobe before the Russians got into it. They just gave you an easy conduit to be who they are. And I just say to all these transphobes, quit trying to mess around and say, well, it's about fairness. No, it's not. It's not about fairness. And you don't really care about women's sports because most of you ain't watched a woman's sport until all of a sudden a trans woman shows up and now y'all care about women's rights. Get out. Jake Shields, really? Racist, sexist, misogynist. And all of a sudden he's going to talk about he's a defender of women's sports. Matt Walsh, really? Get out of here. No. It gets no play in my dojo. It really doesn't. But the problem is a lot of people buy the nonsense, and that's how you get what you get. Stop buying the nonsense. Seriously, stop it. And Stephanie, like you said, we're just people. And we just want to live. That's it. We just want to live and do and work. And for some reason, that offends some people. And cisgender people, y'all got to get over this.
My monitors have died for why, but
Well, I don't know if did we lose audio?
I'm still here.
There we go.
Okay.
No, I'm still here.
Steph said her monitors died, so I was making sure.
Yeah, I'm back.
She's back. All right. Well, y'all got any other sports news for us?
No, I'm pretty much it.
Yeah. How's the?
Well, I've got some personal sports news. Personal sports.
Okay, what we got?
Is, this weekend is the I forget how many years. It's been 1986, I think, was the first one we put on. Is the count them up? Anniversary of the Down East Regatta, and I'm sailing, and hopefully last year we won the darn thing and qualified for the Worlds. We were unfortunately unable to put together ways and means of getting the boat from here to Portland, Maine to Seattle, Washington, so we weren't able to compete in the Worlds, but we're gonna do it again and see how it rolls. See how it rolls Saturday and Sunday, and the season championship up here is on the line, so I'll be trying to do my best. I can't believe that first time I stepped aboard a J24 to compete in a sailboat race has the wonderful thing about this sport is I can still do it. It's tough. It's tough. It's a tough game, but that's my personal sports news. And the following weekend, I'll be running a regatta for 28 Etchels up in our local area. The Etchels Fleet 27 is one of the largest Etchels fleets in the country, and I'm honored to be the principal race officer for that. So you know what? When you talk about continuity and looking back over times, I can't let go of the experiences that have led me here, and I can't let go of everything I've done to make it possible for more women to participate in my sport, the sport I love. And a lot of people appreciate that, and I appreciate the ability to continue to contribute to my competitors and to people I'm setting the table for whenever I run a race. Sports news from Steph.
All right, yeah. I hope to see you winning some more medals and stuff in the years.
You never know.
What do you don't win medals? What do you win? You win they have cups or something, right?
Trophies. Sometimes it's medals. Sometimes sometimes it's a bag. Sometimes it's a
I'm
pickle
looking forward to
dish.
seeing
Sometimes
Stephanie.
it's a little.
I want to see
plate.
Stephanie lead an all-trans syndicate for the America's Cup.
That'd be tough to do. There are more than you think. There are a number of trans sailors, both on the male and female side that are around, but there just aren't a whole hell of a lot of us. I mean, there aren't a whole hell of a lot of sailors, to be honest. So, for at least people involved in competitive sailboat racing.
It's still around as an art, like archery.
Very
I
tough
tell you what,
game.
archery's fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. I like doing archery.
I enjoy. I do it from time to time, but when you get to Olympics time, you get to see it at its highest level.
Mm-hmm.
And can we talk about your boy from the United States getting it done at the Paralympics? Needed 3 tens to win it and nailed it. Needed 3 tens to bring it home and nailed it. 149 out of 150.
All right. Well, ladies.
Yeah, it's Stuntsman.
Matt Stuntsman.
That's my dude. I'll just say it. That's my dude. Paralympic archer from the United States.
Matt Stuntsman.
They call him the armless archer.
Armless archer, Matt Stuntsman.
Yeah. See, man, extends the bow between 2 toes, fires it with another one, stabilizes the bow with a leg, and nails it. And absolutely it was killer. I was like, whoa. With precision. And that's one thing, like I said in transposition sports, if I mean, these have been. I mean, I've watched the Paralympics since Beijing in '08. This is truly a great pair. The Paralympics have now truly arrived in a larger scale on the mass consciousness. I think that's a good thing. That is a good thing. But now, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see this galvanized beyond the sporting arena. Because yeah, you can cheer for Paralympians right now, but I got a question for all those people who are cheering. Are you prepared to take that cheering and take those good feelings and make sure that buildings are accessible, to make sure that you don't park in front of the curb cut,
There you go.
that you may that if someone, like if there's a restaurant or a bodega that's inaccessible, you give them hell, or better yet, don't take your money there. I mean, see, that's the thing. We need to galvanize that spirit to actually make sure, for example, to put in American parlance, to make sure that the Americans with Disabilities Act has greater teeth, has greater power, does more.
Yep.
Because the people in our lives who are disabled, they've been telling us for years, we have to strengthen it. We have to upgrade. That law has to be strengthened, and that law must be upgraded, and it's past due. So as you're getting your Paralympics on, let's take that spirit and move. Let's take that spirit. I'd like to send a note to our elected officials who are running for office. Because I've seen a number of elected officials all of a sudden clapping and cheering for American Paralympians. You really want to clap and cheer for American Paralympians, make sure that they have accessible spaces here at home, wherever home is. Let's not cut the legs off of ADA. Let's not cut the legs off of services. And you know what? Another thing that would really help out. How about health care for all? Health care is a human right.
How about that?
Let's do that. Let's do that. You really want to do something for disabled Americans? Make health care a human right, because that helps every American. It'd certainly be a big boost for transgender Americans. And an estimate of a quarter of transgender Americans are disabled. Talk about holy multiple marginalizations, Batman. And also a note to every school teacher. I want to end it with this, to every school teacher who's teaching, because by now 100% of American school children who go to school are in school now. School has started nationwide by now. It's a pretty safe bet. It's after Labor Day. There's going to be a kid. What? Well, that's the first thing. You know what? A 14-year-old kid, yeah. Schools are not dangerous because you have trans kids in them. Schools are not dangerous because of drag story time to a kindergarten. A 14-year-old kid brought a gun in school and shot at classmates. We need to get to Derma of why that's happening. And the answer is not arming teachers. You really want to arm a teacher? Arm a teacher with some budget so that teachers don't have to go out of their own dang pocket to buy school supplies. What in the world are we doing in this country? You really want to arm teachers? Arm teachers with support and curriculum and resources. It's funny. We don't have money. Okay, we don't have money to arm kids with books, but we got money to arm teachers. Where's our priorities? Where's the priorities? But what I really want to tell all these teachers is that somewhere in your school perhaps is that kid who's unsure of where they're at for many different reasons. Be sure that you be a beacon for that kid. That you be a safe haven for that kid, and if need be an advocate. And to be specific on that, I'd like to send a special note to teachers at a couple of high schools in particular. To a couple high schools in particular. One of those is a high school in Portland, Oregon. The other one is a high school in Spokane, Washington. I'm not going to give the full names of the high schools, but I know this. There's a kid at a high school in Portland named Aiden Gallagher, and I'd like to send every teacher and every administrator, what happened to that kid at state track in Oregon should never happen again, and you need to be speaking out on that. And I just don't mean speaking out with a statement. I mean, not just with some mealy mouth PR statement, but you find a television camera and say this was wrong and you harmed our child. And we are not going to let that stand. And not only do you do it as teachers, you do it as a school. You build a culture that we fight for each other. You build a culture that we stand with each other. That your destiny is tied to the next destiny. You want to build a better country? You want to build a better world? That starts. It's the same thing at that high school in Spokane, Washington. Veronica Garcia caught hell, but shouldn't catch hell at the school. And to the adults who harm those kids or who would harm any child, shame on you. That's one reason why I really believe we need to start a defense fund for parents of trans kids. Because once in a while, when these kids get harassed, I would have no problem if a mama bear walked up to Riley Gaines and slapped a taste out her mouth. I'd be happy to pony that bail up. I'll say it. Because I'm gonna tell you something about I know plenty of parents of trans youth and they're sick and tired. They're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and it's going to happen. One of these days you're gonna catch some of these people that feel that it's their duty to harass trans youth. You're gonna pick the wrong one day. You're gonna pick a parent that ain't gonna have it. You're gonna pick the wrong one, and you know what? And that parent will, in my mind, would be justified by chesting up to you, because these parents have had it. Because they've had to deal with it from politicians. They've had to deal with it from media. They've had to deal with it. In some cases, they've had to deal with it within their own families. And I'll admit, I'm frustrated. Not so much because of me, but yeah, I'm frustrated just as a matter of course. I mean, it's, to paraphrase James Baldwin, it is hard to be trans in this society right now and not feel a constant sense of rage.
So I gotta tell you
It's hard.
something. My background right now is
Steph and fam.
The fella in the back row, third from the left, was my chorus teacher in high school.
What year was that?
DiDomenico.
What year was that?
1971. You can see young Stephanie sitting furthest to the right in the
sitting down,
bottom row.
Oh man.
So I'll tell
That's
you
what's
something.
wild, Stephanie. When that picture was taken when I was coming into the world.
I was taken over a decade before I came into the world, but
I was born in 1971. And that, did you see that?
Well, Joe was a tremendous influence in my life. I credit Joe with sort of saving my life. That was my senior year in high school. That after all of us in the photograph had just graduated, and I've stayed in touch with 2, 3, 4, 6 of the kids that were there. We were rehearsing to put on a play that summer. So again, circling back to connections, it's like hard to disconnect from that memory. I mean, several of those people have been dear friends for a very long time.
Well, Carly's got some memories too.
Well, I figure I'd pull it up. Yeah, that's the first team I ever played for. That's the first tackle football team I ever played for. Little Vikes nickname we can't say 1981.
Yeah, probably not.
We look more like the Cardinals anyway, so that's the name I'm going by. We're little business history with the Cardinals. 1981, and look at us. We're 10, 11 years old. And I'm sitting deep left wearing number 00.
Yeah.
I was born 2 years after this picture was taken.
Yeah, I look at that little kid now, and if it wasn't for that brave ass little kid, and I still take that spirit into the game now. I mean, think about that little kid is what got me when I had the chance to play football again. All I could think about, I remember just driving to the first game last year, first game down out at this place out at this sports complex outside of Richmond, Virginia. And as I was getting set to take the field, my first thought was that picture and me at that age. And two things. One, how happy that kid must be that we're back out in the field. And also how happy that kid is that we don't have to hide anymore.
Yep.
Amen to that. All right, ladies, you ready to close her down?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Thanks everybody for putting up. We don't know what policy we violated, but apparently we transgressed the unwritten law somewhere along the line. Maybe YouTube will tell us, but they haven't told us yet. So we'll try to figure it out and try to bring some strength in the future. But thanks so much, everybody in chat and everybody who's been watching for sticking with us. I hope you'll stick with us through our Patreon. I hope you'll stick with us through thick and thin, because there's an awful lot of thin and not a hell of a lot of thick going on right now. And we really so much appreciate all the support we've had from our audience and from our allied channels and the people that are willing to come on and chat with us Thursday after Thursday. So thank you.
All right. This has been the Transpositions Weekly, and we'll see you next week.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Alana.